tired as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Out of Patience, where today's episode is brought to you by the phrase, "But you look great." You know that one, the 4 words that have launched 1,000 rage journals and at least 3 broken patient advocate group chats. Because apparently, in American healthcare, if you can stand upright, fog a mirror when you breathe on it, and send a decent headshot, congrats, you're fine. Never mind the flares, the scars, the pericarditis. Is that a word? Never mind the 2 years of ER visits where nobody thought to run the right test. Well, today's guest is Monique Gore Massy, lupus advocate and reluctant poster child for this terrible disease. She is a professional, no, you may not borrow my lived experience for free, Mr. Industry Person, human being. We're talking invisible illness, performative patient summits with spiral staircases and no elevators, pharma ads full of happy beach dancing people that do not have anything to do with the patient they're trying to help, and what happens when someone tells you to get your affairs in order and you decide not to. And yes, she looks great. Here we go, Monique Gore Massy. My name is Matthew Zachary. This is Out of Patience. Let's get started. But you do get the, but you look great. How's that make you feel? Because people don't really know what to say, but they kind of say it anyway.
So I recently sent my new headshots to an industry partner, and their response was, "You're absolutely beautiful. You look great." And when they said that, I know that they were saying it with all heart, all enthusiasm, but let's not dismiss what I literally just said to you 30 seconds ago, right? I've been in a full-blown flare the past few weeks. I've shared just some of the issues that I've been having with getting treatment and the side effects of prior treatment. And so though this picture it's a moment in time, it definitely does not give the full picture, quote unquote, unquote, of like my being, right? So it's kind of like a dismiss of all the other things, but that I look great.
I had a question. In the cancer world, they have all these pharma ads with smiling, happy people dancing on a beach. Is there an equivalent in the lupus world?
I'm going to say yes, but I've also seen that there's been a move towards the reality. Because years ago, ads that I did, it's like, give us a little bit more of a smile, give us some warmth. Or even while on set, you're standing and standing and standing, and I'm like, I can no longer stand.
Right.
There's a bit more of understanding of what's happening in real time or what can potentially happen when I leave this space.
Right.
I just think that's because of the work that we have been doing to really increase that awareness so that when that individual is in front of you, no matter if you're a cancer patient or you're a chronic illness patient of any sort, that there's a bit more empathy that's going into the entire marketing, into the entire shoot.
Or
so
like pre-empathy. Let's think about this before we cast it with happy, pretty people on the beach.
Yeah. Sure.
So we met last fall at the Galleon Foundation's inaugural Patient Advocate Summit, which, I did a show on this last fall about I was kind for a first attempt. They get a mulligan. I know you give them lots of feedback. And it was just fantastic to meet you. But what was your goal being there? Did you speak, by the way? I don't remember.
So no, I did not speak. So I got the invitation through an industry partner who had partnered with them.
Okay.
To curate the advocates who they wanted in the room and the speakers. And so when I was asked to be a part of the delegation, I'll call it, I wanted more information and who was going to be there and what were the topics. And then they asked, would you be able to speak? I found that it was really last minute, and I was at another conference when I got the invitation. So very last minute. I thought it was really impromptu. I don't always deal with these very off the cuff. There's a level of professionalism that comes with our space as well. And I did not have time to put one more thing on my plate to prepare as a speaker or just mentally just to take on anything else. And so I was coming back into town the night before from Chicago from a conference, and I went to the meeting that day by the water.
Okay.
Right? That like almost sent us into the Hudson.
Yeah.
No, East River.
The East River. It was waiting for us.
Correct. So after getting there through the monsoon, I remember just thinking when I arrived, and I don't remember if I shared this in detail with you, but I did share it with them afterward. I had such concern about the organization in the entry. There were people waiting on lines as if we were at a rock concert.
Right.
There wasn't an idea of where are you putting your things? Are you registered speaker? Are
no code check either, right?
The code check was by the stairs,
That's
right?
right,
Like
that's right,
if you wing it, you find a space, good luck. Most of us I had rain boots, I had umbrella, I had all of the different things. And I was like, okay, so they weren't ready to accommodate all, and people were traveling in from out of town as well. But what really struck me from that initial engagement was coming in, I was a week off of crutches.
Right.
And I was being told to walk up the spiral staircase. Did you see the staircase that was cascading? It was like
the
gone
haves
from the
and
wind or
have-nots
something,
part
right?
of the event. Like the haves are up there and the have-nots were down there. Yeah.
Right. So I'm being directed to go upstairs. And I said, I'm unable to walk up these stairs to Her Majesty. I need an elevator or an escalator. Do you have one available? Now, at this point, 2 security guards proceed to my direction and literally deal with me as if there's a kerfuffle going on. And I'm like,
How dare you need accommodations, lady?
I just need an elevator or an escalator to get to the next level. And I don't even need to explain why, but I will. I need an accommodation for my health situation. And this happens to be
At a health conference.
patient health conference. He then proceeds to call another guard who says, ma'am, we're not allowed to for security reasons, et cetera, et cetera. So now at this point, I'm like, I'm going home.
Yeah.
One of the individuals waiting on this long line that was like an airport line, she saw a lot of the confusion. She saw the frustration. She also saw the microaggressions that were happening in that space, right? The power dynamic that was happening. And she came over, and then a gentleman came over and said, hey, what's the problem here? Why can't she use the elevator? She's asked you very nicely. She doesn't have to get into detail, as she so stated. And they said, well, we don't know what the elevator, why she would need to use the elevator. The elevator is for the organizers.
I didn't know this part of the story.
Oh,
My
no.
God, that is such a red flag on a patient conference.
This is before I even literally enter the working space, right? So I said, this will let me know the launch pad of things, right? Finally, one of the guys who gave me my pass, he just kind of said, let her go. Because at this point, it's getting frustrating. You're holding up the line. It's bringing unnecessary attention to me as well. And I don't get very easily embarrassed. But at this point, I'm like, okay, this is not about to happen right now. I get on the elevator. I go upstairs to, the upper sanctuary.
Yeah.
I realized that once I got up there. This is where the money resides, resides, right?
That's the Scrooge McDuck vault was at the top, yeah.
Where the money resides. So then I'm like, well, back to the elevator I go. So I come back down, and the 2 of the guards are looking at me who were brandishing their, no, you don't.
Right.
And they're looking at, and I said, it turns out that you weren't even directing me to the right area. The sign that's behind you, that's apparently where I belong. So those were the entry points, right? So this was where the frustration of, I'm here for a health conference. I'm here to bring insight. While I'm not speaking, I've decided that I'm not speaking. I'm now a listening ear and I'm an eye kind of taking in what's happening. And my initial encounter coming in here was one of disenfranchisement. It proved to be not coordinating, but also not accommodating and not accommodating my lived experience. Set aside if I'm a patient, I am a person. Accommodate my lived experience in which I have asked for.
Right. The ADA exists for a reason.
The ADA
which is like 55 years old at this point. Seriously. Yeah. Again, like it's an odd mulligan to have to balance that. But at the same time, this is the story of invisible illness and but you look great bullshit.
and explaining it.
Yeah.
And justifying it. But also, even when I addressed it, just very quickly addressed it to someone, they try to over-explain why it happened. Oh, well, these individuals are not a part of our conference, their staff, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they should have been ADA trained. What are your compliance regulations? What sort of training have they had in that this is an actual health conference?
Yep.
And I said, I just want you to be aware of that because we are at only 8 something in the morning and you have a few more hours to go. And the
line was out the door, and God knows who was invisible illness people just standing there.
Yeah. And so that was, again, first thing in the morning. So that we haven't even gotten
off to a great start. But did you get a sense that there was some value there? I mean, I think they went deep into the pool by asking me to be their inaugural keynote. And I think you watched what I said.
Sure.
And I had to toe the line because I didn't want to throw too many people under the bus, but it's the perspective of, hey, thanks for thinking of us last minute. But I wanted to dive into this whole thing we talked about before the show about we didn't ask to have our lived experience. We had to army crawl through the muck to learn what we learned, to be able to provide insights to industry. And I know the answer is yes to the question. I'm just going to ask it for the listeners. How often have you been asked, can I borrow your brain for free so my company can go off and make money? And you were just left there as like, oh, thanks for being there, token patient person.
More often than I care to admit sometimes.
Right.
So this is, I guess, the dichotomy of being in the advocacy space, of being someone who is outspoken, or just for even being someone comfortable sharing the details of your life. In some aspects, I'm extremely private, but in some aspects, there are some things I'll give you, but there's something that is owed with that, right? The pattern that I've seen for this sort of performative, we want you, but we don't want all of you.
we just want this part of you. That's it. In a box.
It's more often than I think a lot of us are. A lot of us, we won't even share the whole truth with some other individuals because it's like, well, then why would you do it? But then it's almost like we need to be in those spaces because if we're not in those spaces, then who will be? So I appreciated when you spoke at the conference. I remember you saying that you met someone the day before, name will go nameless right now. You met them a day or two before and you were invited to speak. So it seemed to happen pretty
It went from 0 to 60 pretty quickly.
Right.
And honestly, I have to thank, shout out to Health Union, if that was the organization.
Yes,
I know them very well. I mean, they're a decent group.
Yes, they are.
They've been around a long time. Founded by my dear friend Jack Barrett. Shout out to Jack.
Okay.
I don't know if Jack's a listener, but Jack's like a big brother to me for 20 years. And I have to give them credit where credit is due, because when Galian came to them and said, we want to produce a patient summit, and they looked at who they were thinking of, they're like, you may want to have some patients at your patient summit. Like, are there any dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour? That quote from Jurassic Park.
Right.
So they recommended me and some other people. I had a talk, and we went from, would you possibly just want to attend and guide us, to you're the keynote in 3 days. I'm like, maybe, I had to weigh this, and it was interesting to figure that out, but then tell everyone and sure, I really hope that they listen to our feedback. Mm-hmm. And if they decide, I think they're going to do it again.
That's the plan. That's what I've heard.
I think they're going to do it again.
Yeah. And these are the areas where even when you're in a meeting of that nature and there's a lot of they and not us.
Yes.
Or them.
There's no I and we.
There's no I and we, right. There's a lot of talk about patients and not persons, of individuals who are living with. There's a lot of talk of, or my favorite when I'm in a lot of the science conferences is mouse models and molecules, but we're not, or subject. Subject always just takes me. But who are the individuals? Is that data tied to an actual individual? And so the performative aspect of it is a frustrating piece of the work, because that if you're not there, then who will be there?
Right.
Who will share that story? Who will humanize the experience? Who will ground it? Who will connect the dots between the mouse models and the molecules and the therapeutic, and that therapeutic being scaled? It's the actual individual that is kicking and screaming every single day and trying to figure out, is life worth living?
Yeah, but you're never considered the end user by investors and private equity and scientists. You're like, you're going to make a new Camry. You're going to do like 2 years of focus groups on what people want the Camry to be improved with. We're not considered end users, and we're always brought in like last minute. Oh, by the way, and then there's like an asthma medicine that's released, and I can't take this because my hands don't work because I have arthritis. Like, can we really think about this beforehand? And you're saying you're echoing everything I've experienced. And
with that as well, the moment that you come in there, when you have this feeling, and I've had it, and there are two different aspects that I've seen this as well. Before coming in there and asking why, who's a part of the conversation, et cetera, if they're not able to qualify that, that's kind of like a red flag that I've seen already. But then when they say to me, and I'm like, why me? We just really want you to come. I need you to know, what is it about what I need to share? Because you better be ready when I get there, right? I really believe in camaraderie. I believe in partnership.
But do you come with an hourly rate?
I do.
Good.
I do before I get there.
Yes, you better.
It's agreed upon. It's in contract, signed, sealed, and delivered.
You know how to get the shit done.
We're not going to have this, and I'm not going to be timid about it, because there's a business aspect to it. That's a whole other conversation for another day. Invite me back for that. But these sort of areas, as if your patients or your advocates are the cherry on top, the nice thing to have, we are the ingredient of the work that's being done, right? The ideation to scale, I'm the ingredient of the entire cake. Some people can do without the cherry or the icing. Some people will do without the dairy or whatever it is. But if I'm not the main ingredient, what is the point then? And it resonates with me often as someone who is a woman of color, a Caribbean person, a person of African descent. I have often been in spaces where I've been the token individual. So I can see it very clearly. I know what it looks like, right? I know how to navigate in those spaces. But what's frustrating is that there are lives that are depending on this. And so where you talked about the end user, seeing what this might look like at scale, they're not ready to have those conversations with us. No. They don't want us to get into the business, the ethics, the mechanisms, the policy. They're like, that's
get in the way.
Not that. And we want the emotion of your story. We want you to remind us about this work. Why do you not know why you're doing this work? Yeah. Why do I have to remind you? Yeah, we do that. We give them a call to action. We get them motivated.
Talk to the research teams. You're doing this for me, sort of. Bye.
I need you to be motivated before you get in the room. I need us to be able to partner and strategize. I need you to see me as a partner in those spaces. Every way, right? I'm not just here to be your cheerleader.
No.
I'm also not here to be a weeping willow for you. And that is a very frustrating part where it does become performative, because what happens is you go there, you pour out your heart. You are never the one that hears, this is the impact.
Right.
Here is how this was materialized. This is the feasibility that came with this, right? We wonder, hey, I wonder whatever happened to that CRO I spoke with. I was working on a clinical trial with X, Y, and Z, and I did a PowerPoint presentation. I made them laugh. I made them cry.
But then what?
What came after that? And
a bad ad with happy people in it.
Right. Bum. And so when people hear this and they're like, well, we're not trying to be performative, but that's how it feels.
Yep.
And that's what the optics are. And so my challenge then becomes, I need you to ground us in the work that is impactful, that is meaningful, not just taking and taking. We also need to pour into those spaces. Yep. And then also when we think about pouring into those spaces, we don't need you just to extract from us, right? So a lot of advocates right now, while yes, there is a compensation, I'm also encouraging and championing.
Fair market value
that's
bullshit.
Fair market
that's
value.
Not okay.
But we have to champion for more.
16 cents on the dollar per minute. Yeah, really?
We have to champion for more. We have to champion for authorship. We have to champion for certification and accreditation and intellectual property. But these are things that you and I, we're a bit more knowledgeable in those spaces.
Well, because we've been burned for years. We've learned our lesson the hard way.
Right. They're not going to come to you and say, I'm offering
Here's a
you
check, Matt.
Right. And so there is a lot more that I'm hoping we need to get in these spaces where people have to grow up.
Yeah.
And honestly, I also say to people who are going into these spaces, meetings, summits, etc., you have to have a strategy. Have a strategy before a strategy.
Wait, what's that word?
Strategy,
okay,
right?
Great.
You know
mean
what that
strategy.
is? Strategy, yes. Right. And that is because
Or as Bush said, strategery.
Strategery. That's a whole other conversation.
Yes, that's a
God
separate
bless him.
podcast.
Where is he right now?
I don't know.
We could use him.
Actually, let's take a quick
Bubba.
break because I have a pop culture question for you when we
Okay.
get back.
Hey, it's Howie Mandel, and I am inviting you to witness history as me and my Howie Do It gaming team take on Gilly the King and Wallow 267's $1 million gaming in an epic Global Gaming League video game showdown. 4 rounds, multiple games, 1 winner, plus a halftime performance by multi-platinum artist Travie McCoy. Watch all the action and see who wins and advances to the championship match against Neo right now at globalgamingleague.com. That's globalgamingleague.com. Everybody games.
So in Cancerland, we typically refer to the Deborah Winger terms of endearment, everyone kind of dies moment that defined what it meant to have cancer in the 80s, 90s, back when I was diagnosed. I remember watching a movie in the 90s called Gross Anatomy with Christine Baranski and Daphne Zuniga, fresh off the heels of Spaceballs, by the way, about a college professor as a like a side character who had lupus undisclosed, and then she died at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh, so that's lupus. Are we still there, or has the lupus stigma migrated into a better space of awareness?
This is a hard one.
Yeah.
It's migrated into a better space of awareness for those who are in the loop of that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So the tragic, I don't know what to do, or just a lack of spherical support and outreach.
The misnomer of lupus when you're diagnosed with it oftentimes is I don't know anyone with the disease. But what I know about the disease is you die from the disease.
Okay.
If you're in the lupus world, you have a family member, a friend. Oh, I heard about lupus. They're on some medication. They're doing better. Something new is in the works. They kind of are in proximity to what the possibility might be or a better outcome might be. But for someone like myself and for others who I've recently heard getting diagnosed, for them, it's a death sentence. And I don't want to be hyperbolic, because someone might hear this and they're going to say, I lost a family member from lupus. So it is still a death sentence.
Can you educate me a bit? I'm, I guess, gratefully unaware. I have not been personally affected by this. I went the other deep end of the pool of crap in the cancer land. But what are the early symptoms, and what is it akin to? Is it autoimmune? Is it intramuscular? Like, what categories does it live under?
It's an autoimmune condition. Exactly what you said. And I think what can be really hard to describe about lupus is that it's extremely heterogeneous. If you've met one person with lupus, you've met one person with lupus.
Okay. Everyone's an N of one.
Everyone is. And this was something really hard for me to grab a hold of when I was diagnosed, because I said, well, I don't know of anyone personally, but I've heard of Seal. He's out there singing and Kiss of a Rose.
Kiss of a Rose guy? Oh my God. Or Crazy. Okay.
Right. And he's got his shirt open.
That poor
He's
got
living
2 hits and that's it. Yeah.
He's living his life.
But the allure of the celebrity.
Yes.
Right.
And so, having the diagnosis, I remember thinking, of course, I don't want to die. My case was very extreme. So the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you on my own.
What are symptoms? What are the autoimmune symptoms?
The fact that I'm talking
You're
to
teeing
you.
it up.
The fact that I'm talking to you on my own and unassisted, the fact that I walked in here on my own, these are things that I do not just sneeze at when I say that it is God alone, because my early symptoms. I remember writing something, and if we have a minute, I can probably read it to you, like something out of my journal that I wrote down. But the early symptoms, and even coming to today, where I am, if you saw me then, you would be saying prayers. You'd go to your priest, you'd go to your rabbi and say, I've got a friend. I need you to just, she's not going to make it. I probably weighed, I don't know, 80 pounds soaking wet. I was an athlete. I did 2 a day. So having the issues of whether it was breathing, being able to see clearly, we're not just talking about like pain, pop an Advil or a Tylenol. I'm talking about deep-seated, wrenching pain where you just wanted to jump off of something to make it stop. It didn't matter what you smoked. It didn't matter what you rubbed on it. It would not go away. I went from emergency room to emergency room in pretty much every borough. You name it, I'm there. I'm ending up in emergency room. And this was happening for like 2 years. So you know what?
Was this like pre-diagnosis?
This was pre-diagnosis.
Were you even taken seriously? Or is that a separate conversation?
These are all parts of when I'm invited to come, like, are you ready for this entirety, right, of bias, of stigma, of microaggressions? Because I'm living in New York City and people would say, well, how is it that you went undiagnosed, right? Like you weren't in X, Y, and Z town with no specialists, with no emergency rooms. I was in New York City, everything available to me. And I would go in there literally like some days I would pass out on the train. Passing out. Do you know what it's like to be the passenger laid out on the C train, on the 1 train, on the D, and you're cursing because you're like, why is this train held up? I'm trying to get where I'm going. And I'm the passenger late. Passengers, you know, and I'm like, something is wrong. And every time when I went to the emergency room, they, you know, it's like, oh, your blood level is low. You've been impacted with a chest infection. It's migraines. It's aura. Because of I played softball and I ran track. Maybe it's due to old sports injuries.
Everything
you
but.
name it. You know, whether it's a concussion, it's everything else but lupus. I never, through the 2.5 years that I bounced around from one emergency room to the next, no one ever said to me, let's do an ANA test. That's a test that they do to check the antibodies. Not once. I'm going in there as someone who had already been living with an autoimmune condition, eczema. The eczema was not prominent at the time, but I started to develop rashes. I never had rashes on my face or in my scalp with eczema. So this was different. I had a lot of hair on my head. Matthew, my hair was falling out of my head. Like I just would touch and it would just come out. Globs of it would come out. And if I'm going to the emergency room and telling you, globs of hair are coming out, there are open rashes and sores and it's bleeding, and you say to me, are you in pain? And you say to me, did you put something on it? Did you have a perm recently?
Just stop dipping your head in acid, please. Yeah.
What they did was patch me up and how can we get you out of here?
Well, that's their job,
and
to get you out of there.
And that's what we did. That's what happened for 2 years and change. I'm going to read you just a short excerpt.
Oh, please do. Those are pretty funky glasses, by the way.
Thank you. I love fun glasses. I mean, look, I need them at this point in my life all the time. So why not just go for it?
Yep.
So I wrote this in my journal because, as you asked, did they believe me? And I needed to document. I felt like I was going out of my mind. And so I wrote the journey to diagnosis. Don't forget to discuss these symptoms and diagnoses thus far. And this was prior to a visit that I was going to have. Someone referred me. This was kind of like my last stop. And so I said, I really want to make sure I have everything. I had all of the prior labs with me, everything. And I just wrote this for myself. Persistent fevers over 100 and 105, chills, extreme and chronic fatigue, shortness of breath, mouth sores, bloody gums, drastic weight loss from 122 pounds to 72 pounds within 3 months. I'm bruising easily, nasty rashes in ears and in nose that get infected. My heart has been beating fast. So the derm has been treating me for eczema for over 30 years, which now seems to be even more aggressive. I've been dealing with frequent conjunctivitis, as if I'm 5 years old with pink eye every other week. Dizziness, fogginess, anemia, pneumonia, bronchitis, constant UTIs, gastro issues like nausea, abdominal cramping, constipation, and a questionable new nut allergy. At this time, I'm now walking around with an EpiPen everywhere that I go. My skin is tender to touch. I bruise very easily. My nerves, my muscles, and my joints hurt all the time. No pain reliever ever relieves it. Bending over is a chore. Opening a jar, turning the steering wheel, and I love to drive fast, is out of the question. Putting on my shoes is even dreadful at this point. I'm a fine-tuned athlete, but working on what might feel like an asthma attack. My body is swollen and disfigured, and when people see me, I know that they see something else. They see a monster. My wrists, my shoulders are deformed. My back hurts. I've been attributed to having old sports injuries, maybe from dance, maybe from track, maybe from being a catcher and playing softball. Serenity now. That's an homage to Costanza.
Yep.
I was tired. I was weathered. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, there's no Hallmark card for that shit.
And there is no dismissing it like, let's just go home and take. And I oftentimes got let's just take the acetaminophen,
right.
X, Y, and Z. Take 2 of those and call us in the morning. Mm-hmm. And so this went on for 2.5 years. Now, fast forward, right? And the reason why I can't, we don't even have time for all of the things. I was diagnosed with lupus. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, pericarditis, which is inflammation in the heart, lupus nephritis, which is really kind of the murder, death, kill of my situation.
Okay.
It is the thing that really gives me the most grief. The kidney intrusion.
Were you relieved from a strange perspective that, I mean, I went misdiagnosed. No one thinks that a pianist who can't play has a brain tumor. And they're like, oh, finally, it's something. Fuck, it's something. Did you have that kind of experience?
It equates to something. Something out there finally gave a voice to everything that I've been screaming from the rooftops.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of relief, but then there was a bit of bitterness as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I told you that I can only remember the amount of times, several times when I kept saying, there is something else going on here. And
wait, what kind of doctor finally gave you the right diagnosis?
So the primary doctor that I saw, she said, I had lists of things and she said, I'm going to tell you now, it's either rheumatoid arthritis or it's lupus. And she said, I don't know what to tell you, which is worse right now. But she said, I hope it's not lupus.
Oh, boy.
And I then
those are
went.
The worst famous last words.
Those were the words. And then I left from there kind of like, what is lupus? Mm-hmm. You know, kind of what you were asking. They tell you not to Google it. Of course.
Why not?
Why not? Right. And then everything on there is great. Why did I even Google this? Mm-hmm. But I remember it was 3 days later after going into the hospital, several tests, and I got the call and come in. And I knew that it wasn't good because the call that I got was on a Saturday afternoon and we need to see you ASAP.
Yeah, that's never good.
Right? So if you've ever been down that road, if you receive one of those calls, your heart is already out of your chest.
Well, my version of that was, and again, this is a very 90s reference, and I think you know where I'm going with this because I talked about it, was that when I finally was properly, assumptively, something's wrong with you, go get an MRI, which we did. And then my mom and I went out to lunch afterwards. This was in December 95. Got back to the house and the answering machine was blinking on a Wednesday at 2:00.
Every time I hear you say that, I'm just like.
And they said, we found something, come back. Like, all right, I was diagnosed on a blinking answering machine in the most apathetic, analog, pre-internet world. So yeah, I have a version of that. It's now it's funny, but yes, we're missing that part. I want to take one more break, and we'll come back. And you are like 10 episode worthy adaptations, and you will definitely be a recurring guest. I guarantee you.
All right,
but we'll be right back. there's just so much. I want to take the last 10 minutes. I think you're like a human cliffhanger. And I love that because you're just so savvy. You know how to like bait everyone. And then this happened, but you know, more to come on episode 2. I like that you don't live in like a cat poster world. And I've seen too much of that. And I understand if that's your way to grieve and live your life, that's fine. You said lemonade maker is all over your personal branding, which I think is great, but help me understand how this is, and I already know it's not a cat poster, but how has that become like your living embodiment of how you manage who you are?
Sure. So how I explain this to someone who does ask, even what does this lemonade maker ideology, this tag name mean? The first thing I say to them is, if you are not healed from the thing that is hurting you most, you're not ready to start sharing. You're not ready to start pouring out, because you have to be at peace in some sort of way with it. And the only way that we can come to some sort of peace is by, whether it's the partnerships, the family members, the spaces that we're finding ourselves in, the enlightening spaces that we're in with other, whether it's advocates and industry individuals. But you're not going to be at peace with it if you feel like you're always hearkening back to that day. What did I do, et cetera? You're living in this echo chamber of something happened to me, and you never move forward from that. And that can be a really hard place for some people, because that's all they have. They don't know what life might possibly look like if they consider living. And that can be a really, really hard thing. And I say that from a place as someone who I didn't always consider what life would be. I tell people all the time, I did not come into this advocacy space cheering. I came in begrudgingly. I did not go to Lupus. I didn't go to Lupus University.
That's
lupus nephritis, isn't it? I missed my calling. I went begrudgingly, kicking and screaming, because I felt like I've had to be an advocate for myself my entire life. I'm tired. Let someone else be the poster child. Let someone else be the one who goes out front or goes to DC or whatever it is that these advocates do. Because I didn't even know at the time. I didn't want to be that. And so just even the idea of it really just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I was like, I'm doing enough living in this body that has been ravaged. I've been told,
but you look great.
But I look great, right? I've been told I have months to live. I've been told that the treatments that are available are not working. I've been told we have a new treatment coming in the pipeline, but unfortunately, we did not test it on individuals with your ancestry. So we're not quite sure of the efficacy.
That's bad trial enrollment strategy right there.
But you have about 6 months.
Oh, Jesus.
Get your affairs in order. So
wait, how many times have you been told that?
I was told that once, and this was after my life had been spent pretty much at that point in the hospital. So I was forced into leaving my job. My doctor said, you must apply for disability. And I did not have a full sense of who qualifies for this disability, right? There's a sense of ableism that we don't even know that we have sometimes. And
ask the Galleon Foundation. Coming full circle again.
So I had to learn I qualify for this, only then to be denied. Again, we'll get to that conversation. It took me years to qualify. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to live. I'm like, what's the point?
Right.
I've been given months. I've been told the treatments aren't working. I can't walk and I can't talk at this point. What the hell? Why would I even be advocating? Like I had just been married. I am a shell of myself. I'm underperforming. I'm woeful in this position as a wife right now. What is the point of it? And so thinking about living, thinking about planning, thinking about setting goals, thinking about being meaningful in other people's life, whether it's in policy, in research, in media, in sharing space with other family members and care partners, that was not even in my purview.
Right.
I didn't
have... You just worried about getting to Thursday.
I couldn't even think about making it to the afternoon. Exactly.
Right.
If I can get out of this bed today, if I take a shower today, like these were the small goals were, who's going to be able to help get me out of the bed or get to the bathroom?
For a 3-year-old. Yeah.
This is where I was, right? And so to think about in this space that I'm in, this came after a hospital visit. And I say this when people are like, well, how did you come up with this? I remember this, one of the nurses I was dealing with suicide ideation. I was dealing with depression, and I wasn't really speaking at that point because it was like, there's just nothing even to talk about. Right. And my mobility was not there as well. And I remember she said to me, like, sweetie, you have all of these people coming. Yeah, okay. I understood it. She was coming from a good place. In our Caribbean culture, when someone calls you sweetie or sweetheart, it's coming from like a warm,
like a bless your heart kind of thing. Okay.
Like she was coming at me as an auntie. And I didn't receive it at the time, but it wasn't until later. It hit me because she was saying to me, you're loved. I need you to see what I am seeing. Even if you don't see it right now, I need you to see how loved you are, how much capacity is keeping you alive. And I want you to know, she's like, I see you. I don't even know you. And she told me, and I see you. I see that you're going to do something outside of being in this bed. I know that they've told you have weeks or months. And she just talked to me like a person. Mm-hmm. There goes that person word again.
Yeah.
And not a patient.
You weren't data.
She said to me, I want you to think about what you're going to do when you leave this hospital. I never planned. At that point, we had stopped planning of what life would be like outside of doctor's visits and hospital visits or stays, because at this point I was racking up stays.
Yeah. I
lived with a go bag, right? Like people think about go bags if you're getting ready to deliver or Armageddon wise, right. But
the bunker world,
right? Yeah. We lived with a go bag and constantly swapping it in and out because it was being used. If I went to an appointment, that bag was in the car or it was with me, or my husband knew where to go back and grab the bag.
So let me ask you, besides your love of dogs, which I read about.
Did you see his picture?
I did. I never understood wiener dogs from a genetic perspective. How the hell did that evolve? Who chose that from wolves? We'll do the dog podcast next time. Really quickly, what gets you up in the morning these days?
Meaningful engagements. Honestly, when I say engagements, that can be with someone on the corner, saying hello to them, leaving them better than when I found them. And it can be just with knowing that I got up because I know what that is. I know what the other option is. Mm-hmm. I don't take for granted the fact that I'm here with you right now because things can very easily go off the rail for yourself or for me, right? Mm-hmm.
We're all taking time bombs.
We know when you've been given a diagnosis. Now, I've never heard the word remission, Matthew. So
Does that exist in lupus?
I get jealous when I hear people are telling me they're off of this, they're off of that, they're in remission. I get a little, I've never heard that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but I look great, quote unquote, right?
Yeah, there we are. Back to that thing. That's the name of the show. But you look great with
Monique.
But
I look great, right. But there is a world of remission. But then that sneaking giant is always there. And it reminds you when you go out or when you travel, right? Will this be the time where, and for me, my husband he would probably laugh if he heard this, but I pack as if I'm going into war. Like if I'm traveling, I could be going to Florida. I pack as if I'm going to New Zealand. And if I'm going to New Zealand, which I've been, you literally I'm taking everything possible, the just in case.
Well, I hear it's one of those few countries that if there's a global nuclear war, you'll be fine.
That's where you want to be, right?
With the hobbits, and the Lord of the Rings people. Yeah.
I went to it's a set.
Yeah, I know it's a set.
And it was a lot of the set was closed, but that's a whole other conversation.
Well, let me go to so I know you listen to the show, the bonus round, which is I ask Netflix if you were a series, who would play you based on 3 concentric pop culture heroes.
Sure.
And I don't think you'll be surprised by this. And now that I've gotten to know you more formally, I did the right thing here. So don't guess. I'm just going to tell you, you're Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder.
Like pre-crazy Winona Ryder. And here's why. It's not about fame, it's about endurance. She experienced public misunderstanding around health, visibility, and credibility at a time when nuance was not available to women in pain. Mm-hmm. She disappeared from the narrative, then reemerged on her own terms without apologizing for surviving. Her return carried maturity, restraint, and quiet authority rather than spectacle. You are Sinead O'Connor. Maybe not ripping up the Pope photo, but in spirit, paid enormous personal cost for refusing to separate truth from comfort. Spoke openly about mental health, institutional abuse, religion, and hypocrisy long before it was safe or rewarded. Her protest on live TV became shorthand for being difficult when it was actually about moral clarity. And you are poet, author Bell Hooks.
That I receive.
Yes. Bell Hooks built her entire body of work around a dangerous idea for institutions. Lived experience carries intellectual authority. She wrote about race, gender, class, love, and power in language regular people could understand without watering it down for the critique. She rejected hierarchy so thoroughly that she lowercase styled her own name and owned that for her entire longevity, refusing author worship and academic distance. You Bell Hooks, Sinead O'Connor, Winona Ryder.
I love that.
Yes. I want you back, Jackson 5 style, to come on the show. I have other ideas about a whole lupus series and everything like that, but I can't even outro you credential-wise because you're so much. All right, so what should I you give me your own outro because I have all these credentials for you. Lupus superhero, no bullshit advocate, knows what her day rate is going to be. These are really important things. But you're my first lupus guest.
Really?
And I've been on the air since 2000. I guess I was cancerish for a long time now, but the parallels. Not apples to apples, but like Gala to Macintosh kind of apples are just astonishing. And to say I applaud you is a platitude, but good on you.
Thank you
for just being no BS about this.
Thank you. And let me leave you with this as well, because we don't do this because it's glamorous.
No.
Some are really trying to make a name for themselves. This space can sometimes feel like the Hunger Games. But at the end of the day, there are people who are tied to the livelihood of the work that we do. I often remind people that we don't just show up with these diseases, right? Like I didn't just show up with eczema. I was diagnosed with eczema when I was 6 months, 7 months. And then fast forward to lupus. So we don't just show up with these diseases. We bring the world of everything else that we face, whether it's racism, sexism, gay, right, left, right, whatever it is.
All the crap.
We have all of that in our body. David R. Williams, he's a prolific researcher. He calls it the everyday stress test. And the theory is that the culmination of all of these things that you've encountered, that your family has encountered, your body remembers, and it keeps count. And it becomes a cumulative wearing and weathering on your body that then presents itself in this outcome of whatever the disease is and the stress of living with all of those things.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very mindful of that when we think about just someone being an advocate in quote unquote space. They're also living with everything else.
Yep.
And so the people that are coming, when we're asked to come into these spaces, when we speak, I'm not just lupus, right? I am so many other things. You're so many other things.
Well,
and
again, in your credentials, lupus is like one of 40 things.
Well, that's right. And that's why I love about the conversations that you've been having, because we're a myriad of things. And unfortunately, the spaces that we find ourselves in don't account for those things, the power and the strength of those things. And so I want people to bring that with them. Bring it. Don't leave it at home. Don't put yourself in a box and say, I'm just a lupus patient, a fibromyalgia, lupus nephritis. You're not just. All of the things that you learned in school, from playing whatever sport, playing whatever instrument, whatever technical training you have, bring that with you. That acumen is needed right now.
I've heard it very simply put as don't be defined, be informed. All right. Monique Gore Massy, this has been an absolute honor and privilege, and I definitely want to keep this conversation going. So part 2 to be determined down the road, but thank you so much for coming on the show and making it through the door through the grace of God and your own perseverance.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Matthew.
All right. We'll see you next time, folks. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.